in the mute strength of the occult idea, determining predestined shape and act, passenger from life to life, from scale to scale, changing his image self from form to form, he regards the icon growing by his gaze, and the worm foresees the coming God. The whole course of evolution is described in one single line, you see. In the mute strand of the occult idea, there is an occult idea, powerful idea, luminous idea. It has a power also, and it is because of that idea. Yes, there has to be a divine creation here. Yes, there has to be divine beauty and love and joy here. That is the idea working deeply within us, which has not come out in expression, therefore occult. The mute strength of the occult idea, determining predetermined, predestined shape and act. So, shape and act are determined by that. Shape, well, you have gone through the entire process of evolution. Earlier, you were a fish, then you were a tortoise, then you were a it goes on like that. You have come plant, animal, the Rakshasas, now you have become human being, you will become somebody else also tomorrow. So, the entire act of passenger from life to life, from scale to scale, these are the climbing scales, you see. Changing his image self from form to form. He remains as it is as self, but what keeps on happening, it is the evolution of form. The consciousness is the same, but the evolution of form is taking place. See, to the entire course of history, form, form to form. He regards, and therefore he regards the one who is there within, he regards the icon, the image itself as if growing. You say, image is a statue, but the statue is growing. And it has a gaze, it is looking forward, you see. And in the worm foresees the coming of a God. So that is the future possibility. Yes, the worm has already become man, and he is going to become God. He already sees that, because there is that from scale to scale, from form to form, that growth, that evolution is there constantly, you see. Now here, passenger from life to life, passenger from life to life, the immortal, as we have seen just now, he is a passenger also. He has in fact two functions. He is a traveler and he is a worker. As a worker, he sees the growing form. As a worker, he sees the growing form. From scale to scale he goes. Agni is the builder of forms. Agni is the one who gives shape and size and dimensions to the material objects. Agni gives form, you see, Agni. But how does he do? By becoming a traveler from life to life. He takes birth, does some work, again comes and does some work, again comes and does some work. From birth to birth, he keeps on doing that work from life to life. Therefore, he is a passenger, he is a traveler. That is what the Vedic verse also says. Agni is a traveler, Agni is a worker. As a worker, he is doing these things. As a traveler, he is going from birth to birth, carrying the evolution forward of the individual soul. From birth to birth. Passenger from life to life. See, in one phrase, how much he has packed? People say, do you believe in rebirth and all that? Who cares about that? It's not a question of believing. It is a question of a necessity. Rebirth is a necessity, because that is how you will grow, that is how you will expand, that is how you will go from form to form, that is how one day you will become God. Only when you go through the process of birth and birth and birth constantly, see. So there is a question of belief, it is a part of the process, you see. Well, he uses the word here, traveler and passenger. At last, the traveler in the paths of time arrives on the frontiers of eternity. On the frontiers of eternity, that is the coming God. Agni has brought the evolution now so much that at last the traveler is the Agni within us who has now come to this point. At last the traveler in the paths of time, he has accepted the process of time, arrives on the frontiers of eternity. Now, what is going to happen after the arrival at the frontiers of eternity? That he is not concerned at the moment. Yes, we have arrived at the frontiers of eternity. From that point onward, will become the play of eternity itself in this creation. Agni will spread that play of eternity itself in this creation. That is the new race, the divine possibility expressing itself in manifestation. At last, the traveler in the paths of time arrives on the frontiers of eternity, in the transient symbol of humanity draped. Well, in humanity he is draped. He feels the substance of undying self. He always sees that. Although he is living the mortal world, he knows that there is something undying in him. He knows that and loses his kinship to mortality. Therefore, he is not really bound by mortality. A beam of the eternal smites his heart. His thought stretches to infinitude. All in him turns to spirit vastnesses. All in him turns to spirit vastnesses. Vastnesses of truth, vastness of truth, vastness of beauty, vastness of love, vastness of delight, vastness of power. All those vastnesses are there. He turns to that thing. So this is turn to spirit. This is what the passenger is there. This is what the traveler is there. This is what the divine Agni is doing in immortal. The divine Agni is doing in immortal. His soul, see, with that kind of a progress, what is the culmination? His soul breaks out to join the oversoul. From below here now, he is joining up the oversoul, you see. Climbing up from worm to God, he is diving up now the oversoul. His life is ocean, but super life. The super life itself is now flooding him completely, you see here. His life is ocean, but super life. He is, of course, we have seen already that he is standing for the sculptor and the immense strength of the occult idea and the passenger. Changing his image, passenger, he regards the icon glowing by his beautiful. That flame, you see, basically, it is the fiery portion of the wonderful, the artist of his own beauty. His soul breaks out to join. What a wonderful thing has happened to him, you see. He has run from the breast of the mother of the world. Once he has become now that, he is taking directly the milk from the Divine Mother herself, the mother of the world. A topless supernature fills his frame. So he is not now anymore bound by the lower nature. He is now a child of supernature, of para-prakriti. She adopts his spirit's everlasting ground as the security of a changing world and shapes the figure of her unborn mind. That she, that para-prakriti, supernature, it is she, that world, mother of the world, that supernature. She saves the figure and the security of a changing world and saves the figure of unborn immortality. She conceives herself in him. Now it is that para-prakriti, that immortal Shakti, who is conceiving herself in him, in the creature, the unveiled creatrix world. See, when he has climbed up to that point, then she starts working in him. It is the work which begins at that point. He has become kind of now one with her. The soul has joined the oversoul. When that thing has happened, then the supernature can really start working in him. See. Immortality, she conceives herself in him. In the creature, the unveiled creatrix, sees the worker. Her face is seen through his face, her eyes through his eyes, her being exists through a vast identity. They have become one, the mother of the world, and he then is revealed in man, the overt divine. When that Paraprakriti starts working in him and she is doing her work, then the divine is revealed in man. Man shall become God, worm shall become God. It will happen when? It will happen when his soul becomes a part of the oversoul. When the supernature starts working in him, then it will happen. A static oneness and dynamic power descend in him. The integral Godhead seal. His soul and body take that splendid stand. What a powerful line. A static oneness and dynamic power descend in him. The integral Godhead seal. Static oneness and dynamic power are the integral Godhead seals. Integral. It is not only static oneness. It is not just dynamic power, but they together are the stamp of Godhead. The true Godhead means both simultaneously, static and dynamic. The active Brahman and the passive Brahman working simultaneously, it is that which puts the integrality stamp on it. It is not just one of them. If you go only by the path of the passive Brahman, then ultimately what happens? You see that this world is mithya, this world is an illusion, this world is false, and you want to abandon and then go and disappear. If you follow only the path of the passive Brahman, because Brahman is not there, only up there you see silent Brahman. If you go by the dynamic path alone, there is a possibility that everything only is material creation and there is no spirit. There is a danger of that kind of thing also, you see. Well, apart from that, so metaphysically this is a very powerful thing in him, very powerful thing in him. The static oneness and dynamic power. The passive Brahman has descended in him. Also the active Brahman has descended in him. I will say this whole description is absolutely autobiographical. This whole description, all these things, I mean not just this thing, all that thing, delegate, etc., all that thing is absolutely autobiographical. So if you had to write Shivendu's life, it is this which should be presented. It is this which should be presented. All the things, he is like the, whatever he has described, all these 25 sentences which I got seen to you, they have really given you a preface of his biography. And he is describing himself. A static oneness and dynamic power. Static oneness, that was the realization of Shivendu around 1st January 1908 in Baroda. 1st January, we are now about this time. 1st January 1908. So 110, 110 years roughly, you see, go, you see. Yeah, that was Shivendu's realization of the static Brahman, what he calls the silent mind. in Baroda. That is what he received from Lily. They sat together for 3 days and he had a full realization of the static Brahman. Silent mind, he calls it silent mind, static Brahman. Everything is silent, 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 you see, completely. Around 1st January 1908, then on 5th May 1908, he was taken as a prisoner to Alipur jail. 5 months later. And another 2 months. So again, maybe around August 1908 or so, roughly, he had the full realization of the dynamic Brahman, the dynamic power. Full realization of the dynamic power. He saw everywhere God, 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 Vasudeva, 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 Vasudeva. The magistrate is there, the prisoners are there, the judge is there, the pleaders are there, the whole court. What does he see there everywhere? Vasudeva, 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 Vasudeva. The dynamic Brahman present everywhere in his action here. So both these two realizations he got within few months, just like that, you see. Now that cannot happen unless he has really done that kind of a long tapasya through several lives. He has kind of recollected them at the pretext of certain instances. That is the pretext of certain instances. All those things have come back to him, the static Brahman and the dynamic power, you see. So, the autobiography does not really confine itself from 1st January to 15th August of 1908. It extends over several lives. He has accumulated all that thing and they have come together now here in one single place, you see. Ecstatic oneness and dynamic power. Ecstatic oneness and dynamic power. What a line also, you see. Descended in him. He said, descended in him. It is not that Lele gave him the experience of silent Brahman. It descended in him. Vasudeva experience in the jail descended in him. He was not even struggling. It happened, it came to him. The integral, now he says, the word, you see how careful, he is more than mathematically precise. Integral, both together, complete, integral. Godhead seal, stamp, yes, both have to together. The materialist and the spiritualist, all of them had to come together for the integrality of expression. His soul and body take the splendid stamp, both, even the physical now, not just the soul, even the physical also is taking the stamp of integrality of Godhead. Godhead who is simultaneously static and dynamic. A long, dim preparation is man's life. Well, this has happened within few months, but it has been happening over a long preparation, you see. A long, dim preparation is man's life. A circle of toil and hope and war and peace. A circle of toil and hope and war and peace. Tracked out by life on matters obscure ground. In his climb to a peak, no feet have ever trod. He sees through a penumbra shot with flame, a veiled reality of half known, ever men. He search for something or someone never found, cult of an ideal never made real here, an endless spiral of ascent and fall, until at last is reached the giant point through which his glory shines, from whom we were made, and we break into the infinity of God. We'll break down now. And take it up next time. We'll break now and take it next time. It's a long passage, you see. Ecstatic oneness and dynamic power descended in him. Ecstatic oneness and dynamic power. That is how the line is scanned, you see. Descended, he said descended, came down upon him, you see. The integral God is sealed. Already the realization of integral yoga is here. It is from that point onward, his sadhana really started picking up the realization, the experience of supramental possibilities is present here. It is here, after this, he sees Krishna and Kali, even in the Alipur jail, you see, at that time, you see. And the work began. Krishna and Kali, Krishna, if you like to call static, Kali, the dynamic power. He said dynamic power, Kali, you see.